First thing I'd say is this is my take on what I would like to do with a Necromancer in PvP. You're going to get destroyed. It's just part of the game, right? So if we can reduce that chance of you getting destroyed as quickly as possible, we can make life a little bit easier. And we'll go through that in just a second. All right, first thing is just what our character looks like on the sheets. You can see the max stats there: magic, health, stamina. I'd like to have a little over 23 or over 20k stamina, because we're going to be using mostly stamina on this build. Okay, you can see our regions there. They're not the best, but we'll go over why that's not necessarily a problem. Okay, we're actually not even on our front bar. Now we're on our front bar. We pop our potion. Even with our potion, our regions don't necessarily look amazing. But we're not as concerned because we are a Necromancer. We're going to why that is less of a concern in just a second. However you decide to put your attributes, to me, it's really, I want to hit over 35k with health and over 20k stamina. So whatever you want to do there. And you could even reduce your stamina down and push more to mag if you feel comfortable there, depending on how you end up playing the build. Okay? Totally up to you. Let me go into the stats a little bit deeper as far as where we can get to with our mitigations. Our mitigations, when fully buffed, are 27. On both spell and fizz resistance, our crit resistance is relatively high at 21. Going back into our damage stats, I skipped those. Sorry about that. Spell damage, weapon damage, we're at 4,500. When we take our potion, our weapon damage goes up to 53, almost 54, which is really, really good, especially on the type of build we're playing here. Okay, weapon crit is at 35, which is relatively high, and we want it to be high because that crit also helps us to heal better. Okay, that's one of the stats in the game. If you know anything about the way I like to run my channel, if I can get a stat that can give you a benefit both defensively and offensively, I'm going to push more towards that than I am going to for just a single stat stack like penetration. But penetration is needed in PvP, so we do use it. It's our most useful stat in PvP, so we are aware of it. Okay, so our resistance, our damages are very high for what the build is, and then the crits are pretty good, and our penetrations, excuse me if I can get that word out, are close to 10k. They go up because of one of our passives, which is Grave Lord. They go up by 1500, which take us up to close to 1100 penetrations. And then when we use our one of our sets, which is the Valorc set, it'll go up even higher. Okay, so there we go. That's our character sheet. The food we're using is Jewels of Misrule for the max health and the recoveries of both stamina and magic, because we'll be using both. The boon is the Thief boon, and that's the Mundus Stone, and everything else we're going to get through our potions, I think. All right, let's go into what our gear is before we get anything else this time around. We'll switch it around. What we have this time is the Shocks Exoskeleton gear set from Stone Falls. I had to farm it the other night. As you can see, nothing in here for this guy's filled out because he's not the guy I farmed it on. But if you're asking about, well, Burnus, where can I get this set at? It's a very easily accessible set. It's in Stone Falls, which is one of your first zone areas for the Ebonheart Pact. So you come in here and you pick up. I did all of the world bosses in here and got as much done with that. And that gives you all your access to your weapons. And some of the gear, you might have to go through public dungeons as well to help fill out the rest of your sticker book, okay? That's the first piece. First piece is Shocks. I have the Maul for added penetration. It's a sharpened Maul. The Maul has added penetration because when you look at your two-handed storyline, skill line here, under heavy weapons, where it says at the very bottom, Maces increases your armor penetration by 3,300. All right, so that gives us an extra 3,000 penetration on top of the penetration that we're receiving for already having as a sharpened weapon. Okay, what does Shocks do for us, and why is that important to the build? Why do I like it for the build? Shocks Automatically you get a max health. That's a great statistic to have in PvP. Spell damage. You always want to have the damage. Damage is helpful as usual. Critical chance is great for both healing and damage. On the 5-piece, you have 2 bonuses. To me, that always sells a set. If I can get a set that gives me 2 bonuses on the 5 stack, I'm going to be asking myself, why not? If those 2 bonuses can benefit me, why not? One of them is a weapon damage add. The other one is a minor heroism, which allows us to gain ultimate more quickly. And for this build, which allows us to get into our monster set, the Balorgs, more quickly, right? And to also have more power when using the Balorgs. So that's going to be important for allowing us to get into Balorgs and do that, okay? That's why I like the Shulk's setup. It's wonderful, wonderful setup, okay? The Gravedigger is a kind of a Necro Bomber take. So we're looking at using the Ice Staff of Dark Convergence on the back bar. Convergence looking at the 2 through 4. You have Max Mag, which will be there all the time. You have Offensive Pin, which will be there even on the front bar as well. Weapon and spell damage, which we will lose when we bar swap because it counts as 2 pieces. But the last part is the most important part, which is the bomb section, which is it leaves an effect on the ground, which snares your enemies by 60%. If people standing in, stunning them for 1 second after a 1 second delay. After 4 seconds, the area deals 3,000 magic damage to all people within 10 meters and 6,000 damage to all enemies within 3 meters of the center, increasing by 50% for each target. So the closer they are, the more there are, the more damage it does. Okay? And that's going to be combined with using our Balorgs with our ultimate. All right, so Shulks, how do I have it set up? I have Shulks as my front bar weapon and Convergence as my back bar weapon. Shulks, I have 3 pieces on the cuirass, the legs, and the sabatons. All of my gear is divines except for 1 reinforced chest and 1 impin sash. It could have been divines as well, okay? Impin gives us a little bit more defense in PvP. Our monster set Balorgs, I'll read that through as well. We like that for, I'm going to gold, by the way, when you're looking at monster sets and what should I gold out when I'm going to play in PvP? 1, always try to gold out your front bar weapon when you're playing in PvP. Gives you a lot more damage. Next, always try to max out or gold out your monster set. Whatever set you're going to be using, try to max that out, okay? We're using the Balorgs. I'm using both medium pieces, okay? There's a couple of reasons why I want to have these mediums here. The reasons for me is medium adds a little bit more damage to your overall stats, which is a little bit more helpful in PvP. Okay? At least the damage it does add. All right, Shulks, I have, this is a heavy piece. I have 1 Shulks heavy chest, heavy legs, heavy feet, and those are all going to be beneficial as well because it adds more resistances to our build on the body, which is also great in PvP. So we have 2 mediums so far and 3 heavy. I like to gold out the chest of every build I have in PvP because it's going to give us the most armor per value. I always make the chest reinforced. That comes as a suggestion from a friend of mine called Ruby Zoom. She always talks about how she likes to run reinforced in the chest. That also comes from a friend of mine, War Saucer, who is much more of a PvPer than I am. Okay? Next, I chose to go with a Sash of Dark Convergence on the waist. That's my only light piece, but it still gives us a more access to another passive, which I like to have, or a little bit, I guess the word is more, but to this Undaunted passive here, which I've already really liked for quite a while, which is the Undaunted Metal. We want it to have as many bonuses as possible. It increases your max stamina, health, and magicka by 2% for every type of armor you wear. We have 3 different types of armor we're wearing. Therefore, we have the maximum 6% bonus to all of our statistics. Thanks in part because of this sash that we have for Dark Convergence. Okay? Again, I'm not necessarily worried about the glyphs I have where I have them. That's up to you in your personal take. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't spending a bunch on glyphs to gold out And I also wanted to make sure that I, again, just set my marks, which are 35k health, over 20k stamina. You can even say over 22k stamina. Okay, that's my marks. The next piece I have, which is kind of an oddity here, you wouldn't expect it. We just have Druid's Bracer, one Druid's Bracer. Now, people are going to say, Brennus, why wouldn't you wear a different one piece here, like Trainee, right? We're wearing this for the one piece max health. Trainee is better. I picked Druids because I did not want to waste any of my crystals. If you have crystals to burn, be my guest. I try to think as economically as possible when I'm doing my builds for myself as well. And that to here, for this point, for me, I made it a medium piece. For me, this point is I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be wasting a bunch of crystals, even though it would give me an extra 300, health points, right? So up to you. You can go with either one. Druids, if you want to craft it to make it get a little bit easier on yourself. You have a lot of crafting items. Or if you have more transmutes, you can go into miscellaneous, starter zones. And as you can see, I have quite a bit of the training. So it would have been cheap for me, but it still costs me, something. And I'd rather stack as many or keep as many crystals as possible. All right. So getting the trainee set off sticker books is a great idea. You get more of a buff. I went with Druid's Braid. It's craftable. That's why I did it. Okay. Medium piece. That gives me now 3 medium pieces. I have 2 Balorgs medium pieces and 1 Druid's Bracers medium piece. Okay. We have the 3 Sharks pieces and we have the 1 piece of the Dark Convergence sash. The other pieces I have of Dark Convergence are going to be these 2 rings. The amulet and the ring. They are both infused. Stamina recovery, multi-effect. Okay. The last piece I have is the Marken Ring of Majesty. We're going to have, if you run the sets the way I have them, you'll have the bonus here, which is 200 extra weapon and spell damage and 2,300 extra armor. This is a mythic item. You will have to complete all of the mythic research to be able to construct the item. But once you do, it is one of the best items in the game when it comes to mythics. Next. This trait is Bloodthirsty. It came Bloodthirsty. I didn't want to change it. Don't really care. It does increase our overall damage against enemies that are below 90% health. It just ramps up. Okay, so it is very powerful. So at the very end, at its highest power, it gives us 350 extra weapon and spell damage. That's on top of the additive glyph, which you have here, which is 174. 174 plus 350 is 500 something, right? So 500 something. So versus just having your multi-effect glyph here with an infuse, you're only getting 262 damage, right? This one's over 500. But they have to have less health. So we're gonna be able to get them down to less health. The reason why they're not all bloodthirsty is because we need to empower our heals as a necromancer. Necromancers don't necessarily have like these amazing heals unless you're using, I think, Mortal Coil is one of them, right? And we're not having that one slotted for right now. If you want to go in there and put it on for yourself, be my guest. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying this is the way I have mine ran. Okay? All right. I think we've gone through all the gear the way I needed to. Let's go ahead and take a look at the skills. Back bar first. Because Dark Convergence is on our back bar, we need to have a skill that's going to allow us to utilize it. We're going to use Unnerving Boneyard. 1, because it allows us to put on the ground. 2, because it allows us to debuff all the enemies with major breach at distance or at range. And 3, because it can be synergized. So it's got 3 main bonuses. Okay. Next skill, Revealing Flare. Never cast it. It is there just to occupy spot. What it does, it allows us at the very bottom. It says, while slided, you gain, you guessed it, major protection. Okay, that's 10% less reduction on damage. We're going to pair that with Spirit Guardian, which at the very bottom, read again, says, while active, 10% of your damage is reflected into your spirit. So now we have 20% damage mitigation on our back bar. If you're feeling like you're taking a lot of pressure and you don't like the way we have this set up right now, you can remove, let's say, Evil Hunter on the front bar and put Revealing Flare on the front bar as well. And you're going to have 20% mitigation on the front bar as well. That's up to you, okay? If you don't want to be out there trying to be, world beater and you're more concerned with survivability, go ahead and put Revealing Flare on both bars. I'll put Revealing Flare on the front bar and slot an extra heal, which we have here in Mortal Coil. Okay? It just ends up being more buttons you have to press. I'm trying to make this as easy as possible. You want to be Captain Survivability? Be my guest. Okay? Next, Spirit Guardian, if we just went over. Spirit Guardian, what does it do for us? Guardian allows us to heal and mitigates damage. It also creates a corpse, which is great for us on this build specifically, or actually on any Necromancer build. Okay? Next, Summoner's Armor. The main thing it does for us, in the two top paragraphs, wrap yourself in the hardened bone to give us major resolve to increase our resistances. This second paragraph, which is really important, we're going to reduce our cost for our blast bones. We're not using and our Spirit Mender. Jeez, both. So when you go to the back bar, make sure you're casting the skeletal armor first, and then you cast your Spirit Mender, because it's going to cost you a lot less magicka. All right. The last one, as usual, when you're using a stamina based build, or any build actually in PvP, you got to make sure you have some resolving vigor. I need to get this fully leveled. It's not yet, so our heal is not as powerful as it could be. So that's gonna be cut in half in Cyrodiil. That's an 8k heal in Cyrodiil. If we pop a potion, that's a 9k heal in Cyrodiil. Still not great. Okay. It can crit because we have higher crit values. We're going to try to pair that with this thing here. So you may need to put something else on this back bar to really burst our heals up. So you can remove this. And there's one more you can take, which is you could take Rending Flesh, right? Rending Flesh can give you more heals, a burst heal, right? There you go. If you read that, sacrifice your own power to repair damaged flesh, healing you or an ally. That's the only problem with Rending Flesh, right? Is that it can go to anybody. And that's going to also be cut in half in Cyrodiil as well. So you can start burst healing as much as you want. It may or may not pull you back up. Okay? If you feel like you want to have Coil paired, go right ahead. You can take the other version of Coil, which I don't know the name of, but I think it has a better heal. The reason why I like Coil is because on the second paragraph it says you also restore 150 magic and stamina every 2 seconds while siphoning the corpse. Okay? Either one is fine. The Mortal Coil version or the... let me check the other one, guys. Give me 1 second. Braided Tether. Braided Tether. Oh, interesting. Let's see. Because it heals you and allies around you. The Braided Tether does. But I don't think it becomes any more powerful. Okay? So, either one. Next. The last thing on our back bar is Glacial Colossus, which is our ultimate. That's going to give us lots of damage. As you can see, the Colossus smashes the ground 3 times over 3 seconds, dealing 7,704 damage with each smash. So times 3, 7,000. That's 21,000. It's actually close to 8,000. So I mean, I guess it's close, like 24,000, right? The final smash stuns all enemies hit for 4 seconds. At the very bottom, dealing damage applies major vulnerability to all enemies hit for 12 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 10%. So that's going to also be very important in PvP, because your enemies, after being smashed, which is going to lower their health, is going to take 10% more damage. Now let's get to the front bar. Front bar, I have pretty much all Fighters Guild skills except for a couple, which are Necrotic Potency and Stalking Blast Bones. Most of the skills you won't be using. We're going to really just use these 2 skills. Now you can change this up, and I'll give you a way to do that in just a minute. But for now, we're going to stick with this. All right, Circle of Protection. It's there really to be leveled right now, but in the end, I'm going to morph that to a different skill. I think it's called Turn Evil. And then when you use it for turn evil, every time that you put down or cast that skill, it's going to allow you to stun your enemies. It's turn evil is what it's called. Enemies in the initial area of affection are feared, so they will turn around and run from you, right? Which allows you to attack them more easily from the back, also draining their stamina. I like this setup. It's also an AoE fear, so I'll throw it on the ground. AoE fear, they all run around. Okay. Evil Hunter. Evil Hunter is interesting because it's nothing just sitting there other than just a damage buff. And I'll talk about how that's a damage buff. But if you cast it, right, and you have this, you set everything up like you want to for the way this build is supposed to be played. If you cast it while active, increases the damage. So you have to cast it, increases the damage of your stamina costing fighters' abilities by 25%. And we'll talk about why this is called the Gravedigger in just a second, because I feel like it's kind of putting the undead back in their grave. All right. But mainly these are slotted for a couple of reasons. Yes, one for turn evil, but also because they give us a couple of passives here. One, increases your weapon damage for each fighter's ability slotted. I did the math on it. It's usually about one, or for this build, it's 100 extra weapon spell damage per slotted ability. Okay. Next, you generate 3 ultimate whenever you kill an enemy, not just by damaging, but by actually killing it. Next, your fighter's good abilities deal 10% more damage, right? You need this passive called Skill Tracker. So it's also important to the skills we're choosing, because one of our skills is a damage skill. This bonus doubles against players that are vampires and werewolves. So that means whatever our damage skill is, our number 1 damage skill, which is Silver Shards, is going to be doing double damage against players, doubled the damage against players that are werewolves. Now, that's not like a insignificant increase. That means if we're doing a crit 10k on Silver Shards, that means that it's going to crit 20k against player vampires. Okay, keep that in mind. Huge difference. That's another reason why I call this thing the Gravedigger. Okay. Next patch, I would recommend probably using a lightning staff, but I'll tell you why in just a second as well. Our other skill that we're going to be using quite a bit is Stalking Blast Bones. As you know, on a Necromancer, super important. It's going to be from our Gravelord skill tree. Does tons of damage. You could do either Magicka or Stamina version depending on how your game is playing or how you're playing yourself. I'm going with the mag version just in case I need a couple extra dodge rolls, okay, because we're not healing as much as I would like on this build. Okay, we can, one of the things we do, again, if I'm going to make this more tanky, Mortal Coil back here, and I'm going to take off Evil Hunter and replace that with, guess what, Revealing Flare. Now we're super tanky on our damage bar. We're going to stay on our damage bar more often. Okay. All right, we skipped one of our skills here. We skipped Necrotic Potency. It's a good heal as well. Just have the lingering life from the dead fresh around you, dead corpses around you. You gain 6 ultimate and healing for this many health every 1 second for 2 seconds, only 2 seconds per additional corpse. This ability scales off your max health. While slotted, you also have reduced damage taken. So now, with that ability slotted, with Revealing Flare slotted, and with our Spirit Mender on, we have 23% extra damage mitigation. Okay? And we're pairing that. Our 2 damage skills really are Silver Shards and Stalking Blast Bones to go along with our Graveyard, with our Smash, and that's about it, okay? The last skill on the front bar is Dawnbreaker of Smiting. If you're having trouble getting somebody down, maybe they run away, maybe you throw down your Smash and right away you kill a couple guys or you kill one guy, you're able to soak up some corpses and go right back into Dawnbreaker right after. Okay? Most people in PvP, yeah, quite a few people in PvP are really tanky. So I don't go into PvP expecting to kill everybody, but I do go into PvP just looking to have some success. What you can do with this build is you can have some success from range. I can be away from the fight, shooting my silver shards, casting my blast bones, casting my graveyard, and smashing people and having success and having a great time. I can apply pressure to a ball group who is just running up and down the floor. I can help my teammates. I can help my my alliance by playing this way, okay? Without getting myself in a whole lot of danger. Again, you may want to switch the weapon here from the maul to a lightning staff next patch, but for now, this is what I have, okay? And I might do it myself. We'll just see. The reason why lightning staff would be cool next patch is because heck, you can heavy attack with the lightning staff from range. You can light attack and spam your shards from range. You can light attack and do blast bones from range. There's a lot of things you can do from range with a lightning staff. Okay, with a staff in general. I mean, you could use a flame staff on this patch, right? So, that's the setup when it comes to skills. The champion points. The ones I have slotted are Cleansing Revival. It is over here on this little sword, staff thingy. Bottom left, Focus Mending. I'm sorry, that's not Cleansing Ritual. Cleansing Ritual is one more up, I'm sorry. What does it do? It helps us to remove any of our harmful effects because we don't have Expunge slotted. We're going to use this instead. If you want to slot Expunge to do that, go right ahead. Brennus, what is Expunge? It's a skill in the Necromancer tree under the Living Death Expunge right here. It's the second skill on this Living Death tree. It removes negative effects, and while slotted reduces your ability costs. Okay, you can slot that if you'd like. I like the way we're playing here though. Okay, next, Focused Mending. That's over here in the on the staff at the bottom of the staff. Focused Mending. It gives us 10% extra healing done against single targets, which is us. Ironclad for reducing damage against direct attacks, and resilience for our critical resistances, which is important in PvP because crits can blow you to smithereens in PvP very quickly. Next, on the red tree, we have Celerity for a little extra speed to catch up with our targets because in PvP, they are moving, brother. It is a hot spot. People are getting away from you pretty quickly. Next is Pain's Refuge. Whenever you take damage, reduces your damage taken for every 2 negative effects upon you up to a maximum of 20%. Pain's Refuge is okay if you wanted to go with something else. You could go with, let's say, Slippery, right? Because you can break free more easily if you're having problems with people locking you down, okay? So Pain's Refuge is okay. It's not necessarily, 0.18 because it's only damage reduction for every 2 negative effects. For every 2 negative effects. That's crazy. Yeah. Reduce your damage taken by 2% for every 2 negative effects. Yeah, that's whatever. Anyhow. Fortify, we're taking that for the extra armor, and then Balanced Vitality for the extra health. Okay, those two are in the top left corner for the Fortified and Balanced Vitality. You find Pain's Refuge here in this little node. Almost from your starter node, you go up and into this little guy. You go up from his belly button and get Pain's Refuge. If I wanted to reduce or get rid of Pain's Refuge, I would probably go with Rejuvenation or Sustained by Suffering. Okay. I like Celerity. I do like Fortified. I do like Boundless. And like I said, I also like Slippery right here. That's great. I mean, a free break free. Might even do that. Let's do that. Goodbye with that. This one, dude. I'm trying to, yeah, what is going on? Get out of here, dude. And we're gonna go Slippery. And Pain's Refuge, we might just throw in the trash can for now. So, there you go. That's the play style, or the skills and build. Let me go ahead and show you what I'm doing whenever I do decide to play against enemies. If you don't know how this setup would work because you've never seen it used in PvP, then you haven't played PvP. I'm kidding. then just give me a second and I'll show you what I'm gonna be doing here. Okay, when you're in PvP, you're gonna see a big crowd of people just kind of running around like this person is right here, and we're gonna cast our little dark convergence graveyard. Boom! It's gonna gather them all together for us like that. When it blows up, it does a whole bunch of damage to them. Okay. Now let me go over, and then you're gonna suck all the corpses up. So let's go over the rotation more specifically. Okay. If I'm going into a rotation in PvP, what I want it to look like? I would want it to look like, Hey, what's up, Alduin? I'm sorry, I missed that. I'm not sure how long ago that was, buddy. I've been jabbering the whole time. I would want it to look like a graveyard, then my smash from my back bar swap into a stalking blast bones. So, what does that look like in rotation? I'm gonna gather a bunch of these guys up. And then once I get my blast bones to pop, I'm just using that silver shards to kind of clean up the mess. Here we are. They're all gathered up nice and neat. Graveyard, smash, blast bones, and there we go. And circle protection leveled up pretty quickly. And we just gather up all the corpses. Now that's not going to be as easy in PvP, okay? Because people are going to block it, they're going to dodge roll it, they're going to try to heal out of it. A lot of things they're going to can and will try to do to get out of it, okay? Just do your best to knock them down. The next thing is, don't forget, once you get your circle protection all ready, make sure that you turn it into turn evil and you'll be fine. Like I said, if you want to stick with revealing flare, you can, or you can go like and replace that with evil hunter. Either one's fine. There's not a lot of skills on the build. It's up to you. Okay. The other thing is, if you decide to go with a destruction staff, you're going to take all your passives out of your two-hander. So for the two-hander, I have the passives that are heavy weapon, balance blade to reduce the cost of your stamina two-handed abilities, follow-up, which can be very useful in PvP because you can do a medium weave. It says fully charged. It doesn't have to be. You can do a medium weave is like you cock back and you cast right there. Cock back and you cast right there. That's going to empower your next direct damage attack, right? You can do that as much as you want because they're going to keep dodge rolling or running away from you. The only problem is when you're doing that, you're kind of moving slowly, right? Next, Battle Rush increases your stamina recovery by 15% for 10 seconds after killing a target. It just says with a two-handed weapon equipped. It doesn't say with a two-handed weapon ability. So you can kill them with anything. As long as you have a two-handed weapon in your hands, you're going to get 30% extra increase in stamina recovery. Two-handed is to me, by far, I don't know, let me not say by far and be hyperbolic, but I do think it's one of the, if I had to measure it for PvP, I think this one does significantly outweigh the benefits for dual wield in PvP because you get a couple bonuses here and here that are just crazy. Now, what if I go Destruction Staff? The one skill I would add for Destruction Staff is Destructive Reach. And I'm going to take the morph that allows me to stun my enemies because stuns in PvP are just absolutely ridiculous, right? You want to drain their stamina pool as much as possible. You want to make them dodge roll. You want to make them do everything they can to get out of what you're doing to them. You want to take Destructive Clinch is what it's called. Okay? And clinch is just there to manipulate your enemy. I don't have it morphed. I don't have it ready. But it would also allow me to do damage from range as they're running away. I'm still built for stamina, even though I have a staff in my hand, because my main castable is silver shards. Okay? You could even change if you're having problems and you go with a staff and you have a problems maintaining all of your skills because you're doing everything from range. You can change your blast bones to the stamina version, right? The stamina version is just as good. Doesn't do as much damage, but it nerfs their healing. They have major defile put on them, okay? So you can be doing tons of damage from range with a staff in your hand, casting mostly stamina skills. So that's totally up to you. Again, Easy way to play. I'm going to go through the rotation one more time just to, well, we don't have enough ultimate. Let's see if we can build some. Now remember, we're in combat. We're in Shark's exoskeleton. We got to get on our front bar a little bit, right? Now we're in combat with Sharks, okay? Sharks is going off. I'm going to gather some more. Okay, so anyhow, got all my stuff together. I'm going to do graveyard, smash, and then my blast bones. So graveyard, smash, blast bones, and finish up with shards. I can do that from range. Again, that's why I like the build. You can do that from range. And even if you're on a lightning staff next patch, you can do that from range on a lightning staff as well, with all stamina skills. Like I said, the only thing I would change would be the blast bones from stalking to the stamina version. Okay, guys? I think that's it for now. All the skills, all the inventory, champion points, passives. Try to get as many passives as you can. You don't need rapid rot. I don't use health, whatever that is, avarice. I use as many as I can in this living death tree. I already showed you the two-hander passives I like. I got as many of the useful passives in light armor, medium armor, and heavier armor as possible because I'm wearing at least one of each. And then the Fighters Guild passives went over as well already. Don't forget to take Intimidating Presence because it reduces the stamina cost of your Fighters Guild abilities because we are spamming silver shards, so get that as well. Don't forget to take Skilled Tracker, went over it already. Doubles your damage against players that are vampires and werewolves. And then your Undaunted ones. And then get as many from the assault skill trees as possible as well. Let's see if we can survive here, huh? Same thing, don't have one up, but it does a lot of damage. When I said one up, I didn't have my ultimate up yet. Try to get as many of these passives for your assault and support trees as possible. Obviously take your passives for your race. And the last one that's important is you want to use medicinal use here by upping your alchemy as much as possible, guys. There are probably videos out there that can help you to figure out how to get your alchemy leveled pretty easily. If not, I'll end up making one because I will be leveling this, guys, for medicinal use as well. Now, I think we're done. Before we get all the way out of this, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I have when it comes to my style to kind of match with what we have here for the theme here, right, which is the Grave Digger. Let's see if we can get to War Sorcerer's Place in a short amount of time. Come on. There we go. I like the axe, though. As you can see, it goes with the whole Grave Digger theme, right? It's got the little scythe, huh? Just found that randomly. All right, let's see what we got here. Head, I just have the no head. I didn't really change anything because I'm not wearing a helmet. I ended up using a outfit from the collections. And their appearance, hats, and I selected a Death Grin Skull mask, so it gives me that grinning skull look. I just changed the color on the cloth part to be a purple. The next thing is the chest is, what is this? The medium Minotaur chest. Again, with purple and black. Whatever purples and black you like. The shoulder is the Ebon Heart. Is that epaulet? Oh, the epaulet, okay. The hands are the Wood Elf Bracers 4. The waist is the Dreadhorn sash, light. The legs are the Mercenary Guards, which is the medium. The feet is Wood Elf Boots 4, so the boots and the arms match. The two-hander is Fanglair Battle Axe. And in staff, which is this nice little skull, which is the Draugr staff. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. I think that's it for now. I'll catch you next time. Hopefully you enjoy the build.